on Denver 7 News, cooler temps are bringing relief to Colorado firefighters working to contain multiple fires burning across the state.
But the winds are not helping. We have the latest update on the dangerous conditions.
Plus, it's the first vote of its kind to happen in our state.
Gives them more power within their larger corporations, and I think that they'll have opportunity for more fair wages.
Hear from workers at the first Starbucks to unionize in Colorado.
Michael has a lot of physical conditions, but he has a giant spirit.
And students at an Aurora Technical College are helping one of their classmates achieve his dream of seeing the world.
Thank you so much for watching Denver 7 News at 5. I'm Jacqueline Allen.
And I'm Brian Wang. Colorado firefighters are going to be very busy this weekend. Multiple wildfires that started yesterday are still burning today.
One of the largest is the Silver Charm Fire in Colorado Springs. You can see it here. At last check, it is 17 acres and crews have it 75% contained. Good news, no homes were damaged. But investigators say this one was sparked by illegal welding, and the company responsible has been cited. Firefighters expect to have this one fully contained by tonight.
All right, now in Park County, the U.S. Forest Service is monitoring the Allen Creek fire. It's burning on U.S. Forest Service land about 15 miles north of Lake George. Officials say it's 0% contained and has burned 11 acres so far.
All right, let's go out east to Kiowa County. This fire forced the evacuations of 2 towns. It does now appear to be contained with no homes damaged. The sheriff's office says people may still see some railroad ties smoking here along Highway 96. Only call if you see active flames. Fortunately, everyone was able to go back home last night.
Right, now here's the thing. Because of the high fire risk, there are still burn restrictions in place. Stage 2 restrictions are in place for Adams, Arapahoe, and Boulder counties. That means no open burning, no campfires, and no fireworks. Stage 1 restrictions are in place for Dougco and Jeffco, which means no open burning on public lands and no campfires unless they are in a permanent fire pit.
Let's bring in meteorologist Stacy Donaldson for the latest on these fire conditions.
Stacy, the cool weather is helping a little bit here and there, but the winds are still pretty high.
The winds are high here across the Front Range in eastern Colorado, but they're not at the intensity that we saw yesterday. Now, the 24-hour temperature change has been dramatic. 50-degree drop here in Sterling, 26 degrees cooler in Denver, thanks to the passage of a cold front that showed up in the nick of time. Instead of in the upper 80s and low 90s yesterday, now in the 50s and 60s for afternoon highs. We did break a record high yesterday with the afternoon high at 89 degrees. Now, our current wind gusts, they're around 20 to 40 miles an hour here across the Front Range and the Plains, a little higher in Akron at 59 miles an hour. And we do also have a high wind warning in effect for the northeastern part of our state, 63-mile-an-hour gusts at Fort Morgan. Here's where the high wind warning is and the red flag warning farther to the south for high fire danger. So we're keeping an eye on this situation as we continue to see the high winds and the red flag warnings in effect. We also have snow up in the higher elevations with a winter weather advisory in effect tonight. So we are going to be talking about when all of this calms down going into the next couple of days and what your 7-day forecast looks like coming up.
All right, Stacey, we'll see you later on in the show. Now, state fire officials warn we have some pretty tough days ahead of us, but they are more than prepared to fight the fires. They presented the 2022 wildfire outlook yesterday, and to be honest, it's not looking good. The average rain forecasted until June is likely to make drought conditions even worse. These projections they mean the core fire season could begin as early as next month.
There are times when we predict a fire season is going to be terrible and it's moderate, but we're still trying to outguess Mother Nature, and sometimes that doesn't always work out.
When it comes to preparedness, fire officials are emphasizing 5 major points: more aerial firefighting weapons, greater availability of aircraft to respond, greater availability of fire engines and staffing, more crews strategically placed throughout Colorado on high fire danger days, and a new mobilization plan allowing for better dispatching of aircraft and ground support during large-scale fires.
That sounds good, but unfortunately the threat of wildfires will only increase as we head into the summer months. That's because we're still in the middle of a drought and snowpack numbers just keep dwindling. This is the latest snowpack map released Friday. Right now, not one of Colorado's water basins is above 100% of normal, with all of southern Colorado at around 65% of normal. This week we spoke to a climatologist who says these numbers could have a real impact.
And in years where we have really low snowpack, sometimes we do see impacts from that where we may see restrictions to watering if it's low enough. That all connects back to snowpack.
Now, typically we hit snowpack peaks numbers in the first few weeks of April. This year we hit peak snowpack in late March.
All right, as Americans return to work, many are choosing to organize. More and more workers are joining unions, especially those at large corporations like Amazon and Starbucks.
Here in Colorado, a Starbucks store in Superior is the first in the state to unionize.
And the vote happened just yesterday, and as Denver 7's Patrick Perez explains, now the work really begins to come up with a contract.
These employees voting to unionize Friday is a good first step as they fight to get better wages, better benefits, better working conditions. But now the hard part comes, that's coming up with a contract and getting Starbucks to even consider it. Oh my God. This is the moment employees at a Starbucks store in Superior learned Friday they became the first in the state to unionize.
So there's 14 valid votes. 12 of them were yes.
Alendra Harris is a shift supervisor at the Starbucks near Rock Creek Circle and Colton Road. She helped lead her team's efforts to join the union Starbucks Workers United.
After witnessing Buffalo unionizing on the December 9th, I decided, screw it, why don't I try my location?
Alendra says the obvious goal is to fight for better wages and benefits. But they also want to see some finer points on a contract, like getting compensated when employees don't show up for work.
You know, if 6 people are scheduled to be on the floor and only 4 people show up, then those 2 people who didn't show up, their wages are reabsorbed. Where we have to now, output work of 6 people.
They also want to have tips expanded from just cash and have wages increased during periods of inflation. Customers we spoke with are in support of Friday's vote.
I think it's pretty awesome. It gives them more power within their large corporations, and I think that they'll have opportunity for more fair wages.
Within the next few months, Alendra and her team plan to draft a contract. Whether Starbucks will accept it is another story.
With the immense and kind of subtle nature of their union busting, I don't imagine that they're gonna cave. But who knows? Maybe they will. Maybe they will recognize it.
In a statement to Denver 7, a Starbucks spokesperson says, "From the beginning, we've been clear in our belief that we are better together as partners without a union between us, and that conviction has not changed. We respect our partners' right to organize and are committed to following the NLRB process." It appears some Starbucks employees disagree, as this store now joins a growing list of others around the country voting to unionize. And with several other stores in Colorado filing to do so, expect that list to grow even longer. Patrick Perez, Denver 7.
Very interesting. All right, these major corporations are fighting back against unionization efforts. In New York, Amazon workers voted to form the company's first union this month, and Amazon fired the movement's leader, saying the protests he organized violated the company's quarantine rules. The CEO of Starbucks says he believes unionization will only create conflict and division within the company.
They've been asked to work harder and longer. They've been asked to make concessions while corporate profits were soaring.
20 different Starbucks locations have voted to unionize, and more than 200 have filed petitions to hold a vote. The man who set himself on fire outside the U.S. Supreme Court, shutting that area down, was from Boulder. The Metropolitan Police Department says when Bruce started the fire here around 6:30 yesterday evening, he was airlifted to a nearby hospital where he later died. Police have not revealed any motive for his actions yet. We have a crew speaking to his neighbors in Boulder, and we will have more on that tonight on Denver 7 News at 10.
One of Colorado's most popular wedding destinations will remain off limits for a lot longer than anticipated. The Air Force Academy Chapel will now be closed until at least 2027 for major repairs. It first closed back in 2019 for normal renovations, but last year construction crews found asbestos. Officials expected to reopen next year, but it turns out there's a lot more asbestos than expected. Removing it may take an extra 3 years, with costs running as high as $60 million.
Wow, it is a beautiful chapel. That's a lot of money too.
Sure is.
All right, and Aurora Technical College is helping one of its students achieve his dream one drink at a time.
This one's really special. Denver 7's Christian Lopez explains how they're working to get him the equipment he needs to see the world.
Fruit rind potion, hot, size.
Got a grande cup. The fruit rind potion is a drink only available at this Starbucks inside Pickens Technical College in Aurora. The beverage was created by student Michael Roloff.
For you.
And
one for you.
When you buy one, you're actually helping Michael get closer to achieving his dreams.
Michael has a lot of physical conditions, but he has a giant spirit. I get emotional when I talk about him. When he's just a cool kid, just needs a little extra help.
I have 2 major disabilities. One of them is HSP, or hereditary spastic paraparesis, which is my muscles are slowly paralyzing. And then I also have type 1 diabetes.
Saturday, the school came together to help make those dreams a reality. It's all part of a larger fundraiser called Michael's Mythical Quest.
Michael is one of our advanced manufacturing students who also is a game designer, as you can see, very talented artist, and his goal is to get a van so he can see the world. Our next step is to find him an RV and use our collective talents at this school to help tweak it and make it so that he can drive it.
So the biggest piece is having hand controls, so I don't have to rely on my feet, which may or may not be working or in a comfortable position at any given time.
Roloff says his first stop would be Rocky Mountain National Park. After that, he hopes to visit every other state park as well. So the goal with this event, of course, is to raise enough money to buy an RV for Michael so he can fulfill his dream of traveling the world. And if you'd like to help, you can call Pickens Technical College directly, or we'll also post a link on our website. Just go to thedenverchannel.com. Reporting in Aurora, I'm Christian Lopez, Denver 7.
Wow.
All right, despite nearly all restrictions being relaxed, the COVID pandemic is still far from over. A look at Colorado's rising case numbers and when state health officials expect them to peak.
Plus, major airlines are adapting after a judge tossed a federal mask mandate. See the technology they're using to clean the air on their planes.